Feng Zhu. This man was responsible for creating the worlds of some of our most beloved sci-fi and fantasy movies and video games, and we didn't even know it. He single-handedly produced some of the top concept artists in the world, working on AAA games and big blockbuster movies. Feng Zhu is like this mad architect of imagination. And if he's not designing worlds, he was running the FCD school in Singapore. I've always wanted to go to this school, but it was too expensive for my poor self to pursue. So I just made do with whatever free stuff I got from his YouTube channel. But even from that, I was enthusiastically motivated to pursue art and design as a profession. So today, I'm going to dissect Feng Zhu's design principle. Basically means we need to think like a designer and see what we can take to apply it in our own art style. So please pray for me. I'm about to attempt to draw like Feng Zhu. But before that, I would love to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the year. So please help me out by liking this video or subscribe to my channel. That would help me go a long way. Thank you very much in advance, and let's get on with the video. Luckily, Feng Zhu has an abundance of hour-long videos online that we can take and learn from. His channel, FCD School on YouTube, is a treasure trove for aspiring artists and designers. Let me start with that. Feng Zhu makes it very clear the distinction between art and design. I'll be very brief with this, but according to Feng Zhu, concept art is design-driven. It's for a production team and not for an audience. It's meant to solve a problem. That means it can be rough, fast, and messy. The goal is to explore many ideas and make sure they work. For example, a designer might sketch 20 different variations of a spaceship to figure out the best design. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just needs to be clear. On the other hand, illustration is art-driven. It's made for an audience. It's polished, detailed, and it tells a story. Think of a manga book cover or one of those loading screens for World of Warcraft. It just needs to look great and communicate that emotion. This could easily be a two-part video, but just to make it simple, I'm just going to focus on these two topics. Let me start with the most important bit. What is good design, and how do we identify it in the first place? According to Feng Zhu, it's all about grounding fantasy to the real world. Let me explain. For example, in Star Wars, you can pretty much identify real-world engineering ideas in their ship design, like an engine, a cockpit, and even guns that shoots laser projectiles. Or the Balrog from Lord of the Rings still has identifiable biological features from the real world. These are the things that we recognize, and because we can identify with them, we can compare and contrast them with what looks cool or not. Let me give you more examples. The Millennium Falcon has a hyper engine that doesn't exist yet in the real world. But the hyper engine still uses fuel and boosters to make it work. And the DeLorean can time travel, but still looks like a car. And this is what I mean by good design. Your ideas must be grounded in reality. There must be some level of identifiable features that a human can easily recognize. But how do you even start with that? First, you'll need to build your visual library. This basically just means that you need to be consuming a lot of media, especially media with a lot of visual interest in them. Try studying video games, books, and of course movies. Don't just stop there. Try referencing real-world examples like old diesel engines and medieval castles. And then you can mix and match them to create something new. I'll give you more examples of this later once I start drawing. Okay, now that we've identified what makes good design, we can finally put this knowledge into practice. We are going to design one of the castles that I'll be using for my manga. I have a description of it, but I don't have any visual representation as to what it might look like. I have a vague idea in my head, but I want to put design elements to it so it can tell a story on its own. First of all, it's going to be a villain's lair. This castle has a very dark story, and I want to add that as an element to its design. I also want to show the castle as a living entity. So maybe we can add some biology to this castle, as if it's been taken over by an infection. I'm thinking of taking inspiration from real-world corruption, as if this castle is growing a tumor. I'm also referencing other IPs, such as the Zerg in StarCraft or the Flood on Halo. I'm looking at spiders and insects and all the creepy crawlies as inspiration. I mean, look at these insects right here. They're already pretty cool all by itself. But while I'm drawing this, I'm also thinking of the design of the castle. And I'm not just talking about how the castle looks. I'm also talking about how the castle works. And what I mean by that is how castles are structured in real life. For example, keeps that houses the royalties, a stable that also houses the horses, a barracks that garrisons the soldiers, armory that stores the weapons, battlements, gates, and walls that protects the entire structure from invaders. These things are what makes us identify this place as a castle. We're going to exaggerate some parts of the castle and add some fantastical elements to it to give it more that unique look for our story. I've also defined some of the smaller details of the castle, just so that we can give our audience a little bit of storytelling here too. In this stage, it's very important for you to draw rough and loose. Have a relaxing pace while you're drawing. And if you notice, I'm drawing very loosely here, and it's not because the video is sped up, it's because the point of this exercise is to get the message across very quickly. I don't want to render this too much, but also, at the same time, I want the drawing to be clear enough for the next person to pick up on the nuances. But we're not done yet. We're going to take this design we've made and add it to a scene for our story. And this is where photography comes into place. We're going to be using it as a starting point to build this scene. When composing, you want to take your viewers into a short journey. You need to be thinking about the kind of story you want to tell and how you're going to present it. Here are some things you want to consider. First off is lighting. For this piece, I'm going for a simple lighting setup with the light falling from above at an angle. Since it's a manga, I'll be mostly relying on black and white, using rough hatching and gray tones to define shadow and highlights. Here are some examples of other lighting sequences you want to consider, and I think it's very important for us to plan this ahead of time. Next is framing. I'm going to be using the rules of third with the horizon line in the middle. I want to get a good view of the ground and sky too, so I can recycle this background later on for future panels that may require me to draw a background for the sky or the ground. That's another technique I use so that I don't have to redraw the same thing over and over again, which requires a video on its own. And once again, here are some other framing techniques you want to consider. You can also play around with camera angles. If you use a low camera angle, for example, it can give you a good sense of scale and a good view of the sky too. Or a high camera angle, I usually use this if there's something important in the ground. It can also create a moody scene like this. A bird's eye view can give you a good look at the landscape. Close-ups and extreme close-ups can be used to focus more on the emotion of the characters. Or how about a mid-shot to introduce a subject like this? There are plenty more. And the fun part is when you master them and mix them all together like this. Mastering photography will elevate your paintings to the next level. From here on, it's just a matter of rendering or drawing. Given time, we can probably make more designs, and I probably will in the future, or even change the design of this castle in particular. At the moment, this is just a blueprint of what my castle will look like in my story. I hope I did this justice. I am not a concept designer by any means, and this is actually quite a struggle for me to do. But at the end of the day, I'm actually quite happy with how this turned out. And also, if you noticed, I'm not trying to copy Feng Zhu's art style here. That's because this video is not about that. It's about carrying over his principles and the way he thinks about art and design. My hope for this video is if you can consider other aspects of art like photography and entertainment design, as if you can use techniques from those practices to improve your own illustration. So just to conclude this video, Feng Zhu and people like him are the unsung heroes in the entertainment industry. They are the ones who build the worlds behind our favorite video games and movies. And I would like to give Feng Zhu a shout out for motivating me to become a concept designer. And even though it didn't end up that way, the road that I took to become that took me down a path that's equally as awesome in the art industry. And finally, before I go, our channel just reached 200 subscribers and I would like to thank everyone for that. We are on the road for the 300 milestone and hopefully the 500 mark by the end of the year. So a like and subscribe goes a long way and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching and you guys have a nice day. Bye-bye.